This is Brandon with Fleet Feet, and we are at the Brooks headquarters in Seattle, Washington, and I'm here with Lee, product line manager of racing. We're gonna break down the Hyperion Elite. Lee?
Brandon, thanks for having me. Psyched to be here. Yeah, this is the Hyperion Elite 5. This is the fastest shoe that we have ever built for marathon road racing, and we are so proud of it. And so proud of everything it's going to accomplish. This shoe is the amalgamation of a lot of years of experience outfitting people like Des Linden, CJ Albertson, Jess McLean, like our fastest marathon racers. And this shoe came to be directly from their feedback from the Hyperion Elite 4 and the Hyperion Elite 4 PB. The ideation and like how this kind of got started was just wanting to create something that was lighter than air. Not necessarily just from a weight perspective, like these shoes need to be under 7 ounces to be competitive nowadays. When we would talk to the athletes, they would always talk about how their headspace during a race, instead of being really tuned in and aware of what people were doing, there was nothingness. Like CJ has this great quote when he was running Boston where he's like, every thought that I have is wasted energy, which is wasted speed from a metabolic platform. You know what I mean? And so how can we build something that isn't just light to the touch and light underfoot, but something that just like disappears and feels like an extension of your body? And I think that we accomplished that. Like this thing is, there's so much excellence built into this, whether it's from the foam or the geometries, whether it's the carbon fiber plate. Every inch of this thing, every kind of millimeter of why the sidewall displaces in this angle, why the plate kind of has a cutout here. Everything is built to make the human as metabolically advantageous as possible. And we've thought through every stitch of this thing to accomplish that. And we're psyched on it, man.
You talk a little bit about like every stitch of this shoe, and I can already just see from the top, it almost looks like, I don't know, it's like, I don't know if it's knit or weaved or stitched together, but it's got this like really, the upper has this like really light and airy, almost like a track spike vibe to it, which I think is really cool. It almost looks like it's like 3D printed, like in a way.
It's so funny you say track spike. One of the early kind of ideation sessions with Des. Des has this great focus where she was like, instead of taking a marathon shoe and making it faster, how do we take a track spike, which is inherently faster than a marathon shoe, right? Like if you take a Hyperion Elite MD, that thing is meant to run 2 circles, just two circles.
Got it.
And how do you take that ideology, like that speed, and translate it to the road?
I see.
And so a lot of this upper actually did come from our track spikes, and we're using like a TPU coated knit. So all the yarns on this thing, while it seems like when you see it on the wall, it seems like it would drape and be, you know, really, really light and tensile, but it's quite strong. Like it locks the foot down the midfoot, but it's still so open, so breathable, so light. We're psyched on the upper. Upper's different than anything we've ever done.
And it still has some really nice give and flex to it as well, so it seems like it's going to be accommodating. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then you've got some padding around the heel collar to just kind of provide that extra structure. On this last platform, like the way we build this shoe, we actually use a spike heel counter. So the heel of the shoe is actually very similar to a spike, but we make it, once again, like taking a marathon shoe taking a track spike and making it applicable to the road. We took basically a track heel and gave you this like really soft touch, really premium heel counter that just helps lock the foot down. So yeah, like when you're looking at this upper, there's so many track things that we've just translated up to 26.2 miles. And well, as a track fan myself, I'm really, really excited, and I kind of just love nerding out about the uppers of the shoe. And like, I do feel like while everyone is focused on the midsole, the upper is something that sometimes can be forgotten or not really like thought of. And at Fleet Feet, like fit is such a big part of our story and our message. And so making sure that you have that right dialed in fit, it's really exciting to know that that's really something that wasn't overlooked here.
Yeah.
But let's talk a little bit about the midsole. And visually, the first thing that immediately comes to mind, are these bubbles? Are they like little pods? Like what, are they like beads? Like what's going on here with these circles?
They're all of the above. I think it's literally, if you ask a different person, they'll have like a different name for it. So this is another thing that came directly from the athletes. The way these like super shoes are built, it's usually you take the best foam, you put 2 slabs of it on top of each other, and you have a plate in the middle. Shoe goes this way, everyone's happy. But when you put 2 slabs of foam on each other, these foams are so advanced, the only place that the foam can kind of displace and then kind of like deform and reform to give you that pop and the energy return. When you just have 2 slabs, you're only giving the foam the perimeter to be able to like expand and contract and give you that propulsion. So the idea behind the cutting all this away and having these different shapes was literally Des was like this blocked foam idea. What if we just use different shapes and have them compress against each other? Do we get a metabolic advantage that's different than all of these kind of sea of sameness?
Okay.
So instead of having two slabs and two squares on top of each other, we kind of have these offset orbs, if you will. And the idea is that the foam should be able to displace in a much more smooth, kind of convex manner, and should give you a much more smooth, kind of natural propulsion to that big toe. The biggest call out here, and I think it's a testament to our engineering, is we've cut out a lot of this midsole. This is 8% more gold, more DNA gold than Hyperion Elite 4 PB. So the shoe is lighter, and you have these like massive displacement pods here in the midsole, but we know the foam is kind of the engine of these shoes. The foam is what makes the shoe feel propulsive and fast, and we're giving the runner more of that good stuff, even though it looks like less, per se. Kind of a cool little tidbit.
And DNA Gold runs throughout the entirety of the shoe. That is the one foam that's in this one, whereas the Hyperion Max 3 had two foams.
Yeah.
So this one's going to be more aggressive, maybe a little bit faster on foot as well.
Yeah, the Hyperion Elite should be the fastest shoe that you can buy from Brooks Racing. It is meant for race day. It is crafted 100% with our Brooks Pro athletes, so all the feedback, and it is 100% DNA Gold, which is our lightest, softest, and fastest foam that we make.
And for race day, is this, like, are we talking 5K, 10K territory? Are we talking half marathon or full marathon? What would someone want to utilize this shoe for?
So this was designed with the full marathon in mind. 26.2 is like the majority of where our testing went. But nowadays, these shoes are so light and they're so quick. Like, this is absolutely a 5K, 10K shoe. You know what I mean? Absolutely a half marathon shoe. I think it's not World Athletics legal for the track. So like anybody that's like going to your local track meet, here in Seattle, we have the all-comers meet where you can go and run a hot mile or a hot 5K. Those are going to get in some tricky scenarios, but yeah, anything 5K to a marathon, this thing excels at.
This is incredible. I mean, not only does it visually look beautiful, but something that I really like was that you put a different Brooks logo on it than what we typically see in a lot of other Brooks shoes. Like, I'm not sure what the other logo is called, the more traditional Brooks logo. The Path logo. Yeah. But this one, you went with the Brooks one going all the way across the shoe. I really like that.
I'm glad you like
subtle
it.
Design there. And then in between the midsole here, there's what I'm seeing called not just Speed Vault Plus.
Yes.
So that's, I'm assuming, going to be different than the Speed Vault that we see in Hyperion Max 3.
Yes.
Okay.
Great question. Good eyeballs. Yeah, so Speed Vault, if a shoe has Speed Vault, it's getting a rigid structure of some kind. Maybe that rigid structure is nylon, maybe it's carbon fiber. Speed Vault kind of stands for road plates. Okay. Speed Vault Plus is our highest end plate. It is produced by a company out of Berkeley, California called Eris. And the reason it's kind of the plus is not just because it's carbon fiber, but because very similar, it's the exact same plate as the Hyperion Elite 4 PB. It is carved out at very specific moments in the shoe to kind of augment flex and then augment weight. So we're able to keep the plate very, very light while still being very, very torsionally resistant. So that torsion and that stiffness is what kind of exacerbates that forward propulsion. We're able to cut away a ton of carbon fiber out of this plate while still keeping it really torsionally strong. And then each plate is kind of size customized. So the idea is, so Des is an M5, right? A women's 6.5. I'm a size 12 in men's. Okay. Des does not need the same stiffness plate that I do. You know what I mean? Because our feet and our bodies are so much different. So instead of taking one plate and then just kind of cookie cuttering it down where Des will be in a plate that's as stiff as mine, each size is going to get a stiffness that's specific to them, which is really cool. So that kind of customization and then that attention to detail with weight and propulsion, that's the plus kind of add to the Speed Vault.
So you're curating to the individual's needs based on the size of their foot.
Yeah, instead of one shape fits all.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's cool, right?
That is really cool. That's like, I never knew that people were out here doing that.
That's why I'm here.
So like, I love geeking out about the tech and learning something new every day. And this is something that I've learned that was new. So that's really cool.
You Fleet guys are usually like up on your stuff. So if I can give you something new, I'm like,
I know, you got one on us that time. I'm not entirely sure. When is this launching?
So this is the same time as the Hyperion Max 3. The Hyperion Elite 5 is 7/1/25, so another summer release, just in time for like fall marathons like Chicago in October and the championships.
If someone was on the fence about this shoe and they were considering this race day shoe or maybe a different one or another shoe from Brooks, like what would you say to really get them across that finish line to have them at least try this one on?
I think that's such a good question because we all know there are so many racing shoes in the market right now. You have your pick of the litter to what to race in. The way this shoe is different is we don't look at a single performance technology to kind of boost us across the line. We are thinking about every technology in synchronicity with the entire shoe. So we're thinking about not just do we have the best foam, do we have the best plate, do we have the best upper, but we're thinking about how those all interact with each other to create the fastest possible experience. So every sidewall of this shoe, every kind of angle in the foam is thought about in congruity with the plate. How is this foam going to affect this plate? And then how are those two things going to affect how the upper moves? Where does the upper drape? Where does it drag? Where does it compress? Like you said earlier, where does it stretch? You can't look at these things in isolation. You can't just take, it's all top of the line. You can't just take one thing and assume it's going to work with all the other technologies. All of this was built with the runner in mind to go as fast as possible. And I think that that's just something that we do differently here.
All right. Well, if you're looking for that curation, the specialization to detail, and if you're looking for your next PB, I'd say this is a shoe that might just get you there. So, Lee, thanks so much. Really appreciate your time and walking us through the shoe.
Thank you. I had a great time. Take care.
All right.
Good luck.